Welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. I'm excited to bring to you the 3 of the 7 female founders of the New Jersey Food Tour Trail Collaborative. And with us today, in the bottom corner, diagonal for me, is Kathleen Carozza, who is the owner-operator of the SAVEUR and Stroll Culinary Tours. And next to her is Alessia Aron, who's the Chief Eating Officer, I love that title, of Beyond the Plate Food Tours. And right next to me is Liz Pacelli. She's an entrepreneur, food lover, small business advocate, and owner of the Sister Cities Food and Shop Tours. Welcome, ladies.
Thanks you for having us.
You're welcome. I love the fact that all of you came to your own food tour creations in different places. We'll jump into the collaborative in a few minutes, but Kathleen, you started out as a nurse.
So as a dietitian. My background is in food and nutrition, and I was at a conference, and someone with a very similar background to me was telling all about how she had started a food tour business in Ohio. And I knew I was going to be retiring kind of on the early side of things, which I did last May. So I had said, Morristown, New Jersey is the perfect place for me to do this food tour. I had been on a few food tours, and I love to talk about the history of the town. And there's so much food action happening in Morristown. That's when I started developing the idea. And I just knew it was the perfect fit for me for my part-time retirement business. But you know how it goes. When you have a business, it's never a part-time thing.
Nancy Sutterburn says, of course it is. That's awesome. And Liz, you were visiting the town that you currently live in and were like, oh my gosh, I love this place and I want to do a food tour.
Yeah, I was first a tourist myself, I guess you could say. And I wound up out this way kind of on accident. And I just found that there was really a need for something that was more food focused. We think Lambertville is considered the antique capital. And so everybody knows about the antiques and the art, but nobody, I don't think, really was focusing on the food. So that's really where we wanted to go with it.
That's awesome. And then Alessia, tell us about how you got to open up your food.
So I was working corporate for a while in New York, and I just moved to Jersey City to be closer to my job. I knew one person at the time. And to this day, she's still my inspiration. I took a food tour with SAVEUR Seattle Tours. It was like the highest thing listed on TripAdvisor. And that was my first introduction to food tours. So that was, 2010-ish, 2009. Okay. And that experience stuck with me. I ended up leaving corporate, traveling around South America, came back and started researching the industry after taking, at this point, over probably 36 food tours all over the world, all over the country. And I realized that there weren't many food tours at the time. I think Cape May was around when I started, maybe Hoboken. And so I started connecting with people in the industry, realized there's a global food tourism association. There's a school in Chicago that teaches people how to start food
Wow.
Tourism. So I started connecting with them, went to the conferences, and then the NJ Food Tour Trail ended up being a project down the line. But so 2013, I launched Garden State Food Tours. Then it became Jersey Girls Food Tours. And now I'm a solopreneur for Beyond the Plate Food Tours.
Fantastic. It's really exciting that you all came from different perspectives and you have thriving businesses. And then tell everybody, and Kathleen, I love the map up there and I want you to point it out in a few minutes, but the fact that how did the collaborative come together?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, like Kathleen and Liz. It started off like I called Audrey, like I was having like a bad day, and I was just like, I just want to connect with someone. I think this was like before I knew you, Liz, as well. And I called Audrey, and who's on the town tours, and we just started connecting, and we were like, we should get all the food tours in New Jersey together. And we ended up meeting up one summer. Liz and Kathleen, I don't think you guys were there. But
I wasn't there, I remember, but you met up, I think, in Asbury Park.
Yeah.
I think I was traveling at the time, but then we stayed connected by, at that time, conference calls. That was before Zoom was a real big thing. Yeah. Then we started Zooming.
Yeah, that was fun. And then we just all stayed in touch, and we formed the trail years later.
And so how long has the trail been active?
Is it a year?
Yeah, just about a year.
So you launched this.
We started it during COVID. Yeah, we really launched it as a way to really come out of COVID with some positive support for each other. And that's been one of my favorite things, is that it's 7 women who live in different parts of the states who are doing very similar things and all really supporting each other. And we don't feel, in competition. We feel very supported and share ideas. And that has been really such a great aspect of this.
That's fantastic. And so, and each one of your tours covers, you're covering different parts of the state.
Cape May Tours is down at the bottom.
Okay.
And then the tour operator that Alessia was talking about, Audrey, she has one in Atlantic City and some in Burlington County in 3 different towns. And then moving north on the shore, we have Taste of Asbury Park. And going a little further than that is Alessia's, and she has one in Jersey City, but she also does Somerville and Red Bank, which is kind of near the shore as well. And then I'm kind of northwest, and Liz is right on the border. Liz is the one place where you can stand in 2 states at the same time on her tour. You can be in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And then we have in Newark, we have another tour operator. Have you met Newark? Num Num Newark. So we really are, especially with gas right now, we are really all situated around the state where you can get to one of us in a fairly short road trip.
That's awesome. And Carolyn is a former Jersey girl who's tuning in. She's spent 30 years of her in Jersey at some point. So she's loving North Jersey. Well, and that's really important, because I was actually on a Facebook group with people who were talking about prices of airlines. And actually somebody tuned in that they said the rental car that they were renting, same city, same week, same exact days, in 2020 was $600. And this year it's $2,500. Wow. So you all having your collaborative, and I point that out because that means that they don't have to spend a lot of gas money to take the tour. And They're all walking tours, right?
Correct. Correct.
That's awesome. So they have to just plop their car down and then they get to walk. So tell us, and each tour is a little bit different, one for the fact they're in different cities, but Liz, you mentioned antiquing as well. So can you talk about how you incorporate the antiques with the food?
Yeah, so Lambertville has a lot of it's an old town, older buildings. A lot of them are smaller. So when we are doing our tours, we're focusing a lot on the literal small businesses. So you may come out here and you may know and see a lot of the bigger places that you would normally go as a tourist, but without a guide. But with a guide on our tours, we're going to take you to the places that are a little bit off the beaten path and incorporate a lot of those smaller businesses. Some of them are specialty shops like chocolatiers and cheese and wine, but also, there's a lot of gift stores and antiques and galleries. So we don't always include them on our tours, but it really, if we're doing a private tour where a guest comes to me and says, we really want to we want to shop or we want to antique, then we will curate the tour to fit the needs of the customer. So we do a little bit of everything, food and shopping.
That's awesome. And Pamela just piped in here. She loves this. And there's a real growth right now in Trenton with restaurants and food shops from all kinds, Latin American cultures. She's like, just unsolicited idea for you.
No, Audrey doesn't do Trenton. Right?
No, she doesn't. But Audrey's close enough to do Trenton. She might be interested. We should bring that up to her for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and especially if you all can customize it, like Liz just said, that would be kind of fun too. So, and a lot of these women that are piping in here are all meeting professionals. So having options for their attendees to do something fun off the beaten path or the normal event path would be a lot of fun, I think, as well. So Alessia, what do your tours focus on?
Well, it's funny that the woman just mentioned like all those diverse restaurants because I just launched a new tour in Jersey City Heights. So Jersey City is the most ethnically diverse city in America. So we actually, our signature tour downtown, we focus on the nice new restaurants and the change that's happened so dramatically over the last couple of years in downtown. So I would say my tours are definitely food and drink focused with sprinklings of arts, culture, history. So the focus really is on the people that work so hard to put that food in front of us. So you do get to meet chefs and owners, mixologists. There are drink pairings on my tour. So in the 8 years that I've been running the tours, it's really shifted based on what was available in downtown. So downtown wasn't much there when I moved. And now it was like 2014, all these new restaurants popped up. So the tours evolved so much. The downtown one has evolved into this like kind of elevated dining experience, which is why we cater so much to corporate private tours. A lot of team building, stuff like that. But then recently, my first expansion neighborhood in Jersey City was Central Avenue in Jersey City Heights. And if you're familiar with the area or not, Central Ave, it's like going back in time a bit. Definitely a lot of ethnic eateries. So we span 5 continents on the tour. So we have Italian, Japanese, Mexican, Honduran, Peruvian, Haitian, Caribbean, and then we end with donuts. And it's just like, it's crazy. So you got old school Italian deli, rated one of Italian delis in New Jersey. And people are just like, ooh and eyeing in that one. So it's a good one. So
that's very fun.
In Somerville are like the downtown tours in Jersey City, just like an elevated dining experience. Your only job is just to show up and have a good time. Everything's curated in advance, the food, the drinks. So we just take the pressure off of someone who's planning something and do all the work for them so they can just have it.
Very cool. Now, Kathleen, talk about your tours.
Sure. So Morristown is very historic. George Washington did sleep there. And so there's a lot of monuments. Morristown has one of only 2 large greens left in the state of New Jersey. So its center town area has a lot of monuments. So I definitely concentrate on the history of the area, the architecture, a lot of mix between Victorian and Gilded Age, and so the very Art Deco buildings. But I also like to tie in the food that I'm featuring with the cultures that they come from and how they might tie into the history that we're talking about. So I try to really emphasize that. I have 3 different tours. So one focuses like it's a little bit less walking and a little bit more of staying in the main green area. One is like Liz's, more shopping, and we do a lot of small business shopping along the way, which is a lot of fun. And that one starts with a brunch. So that one's always a lot of fun too. And then the last one is more of a lot more history, a lot more walking. We get at least 12,000 steps in that day. And
that's a long tour.
It's a lot, and a lot of eating all along the way. And it's really one of my favorite things is just highlighting the small businesses. And as Liz said, kind of off the beaten track. In Morristown, there's a very long South Street main road that has a lot of very popular restaurants, and they're all amazing. But I'd like to take people around the outskirts so they can kind of see the off the beaten track places and promote those businesses.
Very cool. I need to introduce the 4 of you to Donald in Las Vegas because he's got lip smacking foodie tours.
Ooh.
And I need to introduce y'all to him so you can collaborate with what he's doing there. And he's got like 4 different tours in Vegas, food tours in Vegas.
Oh.
All over.
So, I know someone who's leaving for Vegas Saturday. And she just came on my food tour when we recorded last week with New Jersey 12. So I'm going to have to let her know.
Yeah. Lip smacking foodie tours. He does I went on one of them a couple months ago and it was a really good experience.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So how do you collaborate with each other and into bringing this together? Because a lot of people might say that you've got 4 competing businesses or 7 competing businesses, but you're across the state. So how do you really utilize that to collaborate and cross promote each other?
Wow. I always say that like New Jersey shoots itself in the foot sometimes because we're never going to be New York. And so why wouldn't we work together to bring more people to New Jersey? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? We want to showcase the cities that we're operating in. And this was actually inspired by, there's a food tour trail in New York, upstate New York. And we kind of looked at their website, we looked at their landing page, and it was just a way, again, like it's all about perception. You want to show people that there is collaboration here, that we do work together, that we are working to showcase the state. So it started off with one little conversation that we started reaching out, like Liz and then Mary, I had met at the food tour conferences from Cape May back in 2014. So it's like we started to just realize like, okay, like, all right, I have a connection with Mary. Let's get her on board. Let's get Liz on here. I took the Newark tour. And so all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, like some of us do it full time, some of us do it part time. We're all excited about what we do. So why wouldn't we help each other? Right. To me, it's just like a no-brainer.
Yeah. And on the very practical part of that, we share the responsibility for the social media and for things that are going out under the New Jersey Food Tour Trail name. So that's, some of them are better at social media posting than I. Liz is the queen, but it's great because we're really sharing each other's successes and we get ideas from each other. I mean, I've been thinking about an international focus in Morristown, but what Alessia just said about looking at it by the continent, I was like, whoa, that is the way to go. Like that would be so cool because that would really be a fun way to think about it. And I just love that. So that's the kind of thing when we talk to each other that just sparks ideas and we feed off of each other, which is great.
We could ask questions like corporate tour proposals or, hey, I'm hiring a guide. Like, what do you do? What's been your process? So like different topics, each person has their own strengths and weaknesses. So we can count on each other to help. If like there's a conference or something, share it with each other. Like, hey, I'm doing this. If you guys want to sign up or something like that.
Right. Cool. All right. Pamela just piped in again. You are all the female version of Stanley Tucci, searching for Italy.
Yes, we like that.
New Jersey is known for so many food cultures, and the way of life for us is food. And Pam, I really saw that in that story by SAVEUR magazine, and I will post that here for everybody too. But it blew my mind. And I actually found another article on 64 foods you'll never find anywhere else except in New Jersey, which is kind of mind-blowing. So what are some fun food things that we can find on your trails, on your tours?
Let someone go first.
Go ahead, Liz. You want to go first?
We have a wide variety of different types of cultures and foods. We also have, you can get anything from like a cheeseburger to tacos. You can get chocolate that is from France to wine that's from New Jersey. So you get a different mishmash kind of everything. And we really try to highlight what the small business owners are working so hard to bring to our town and really to get the tourists and the guests through the doors and get them on the maps, and then also getting them to know, okay, they're here and we want to come back. So we really are just trying to showcase the wide variety of things that are here.
All right. So before you go into anything else on that, I mean, I think that's really important because you're helping the restaurants, which got really hit hard during COVID. You all got hit hard, I'm sure, but you're a way for a Convention and Visitors Bureau or the cultural attaché of the state to promote you or to promote the culture of your state. And I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the, best things that we love about what we do. We all always talk about our partners, and we really do see all the restaurants and small food shops that we work with, as well as other shops that we go into as partners, because without them, we would not have our tour. And they really appreciate us bringing in new people. We have in Morristown a chocolatier who, as she likes to say, has been trying to make people's lives sweeter for 38 years. Anjou Chocolate. She makes everything on site, right in the shop. And she started out as a pharmacist who made chocolate syrup as part of pharmacy school back in the day when you had to make the medicine go down. Yeah. So Wendy has been so awesome to deal with. And I love bringing people in there because she's been there for 38 years. And a lot of people who live right in the area never knew about her because she's on a side street. So that is one of my favorite. And recently we had a brewery open in town. So that is the end for 2 of my tours. And classic New Jersey pizza and beer is definitely a fun way to end a tour.
Now, is that tomato pie? Is that
meatball? So we work with Millie's Meatballs.
Okay.
And they have a specialty for both. They have coal-fired and wood-fired pizza ovens. So people get to choose and taste a couple varieties depending on how many people on the tour. So that's been really fun, adding the brewery in town. And of course, every brewery in Morristown area, which there are several now, microbreweries, they all have some kind of beer named for all of the local history, Fort Nonsense or Porter's Tavern, or a variety of different historical things. So that's kind of fun too.
Very cool. So Nancy apparently lives in Morristown because she says she loves Wendy.
Yes.
And she said Wendy has done some speaking engagements about the positive impact of dark chocolate. And as a dietitian, you can pipe in on that too, right?
That's one of the things that I really love about her. Wendy's worked with the integrative health people at Atlantic Health and developed some of her very high percentage cocoa, 72%, very low sugar, and fabulous. My favorite one is there's a ginger orange. I think it's ginger orange. Yummy. It's delicious. But one of the things too that I like to always say is you're walking and you're out with people and you're not on your screen, and you should enjoy your food. It should not be about, oh, I'm being bad today and having chocolate. It should be, this chocolate is delicious and I'm going to enjoy it. And there are healthy aspects for all foods that we try, as well as those that might be more fun than anything else, like the donuts at the end of Alessia.
Yeah. And we are the Garden State, right? So
yes.
I think one of the best things about working with some of these really chef-driven restaurants is that sometimes I have tours where I have no idea what they're going to put out, but I trust them. And it's a nice mix because I have restaurants that every single tour they put out the same thing. But then I have those chef-driven restaurants where it's completely seasonal menu and they're bringing out something different on every single tour, which makes it exciting because, like, especially I have a decent amount of repeat customers. We do change the tours up a bit because the food scene is constantly changing, ingredients are changing, supply and demand is changing everything. So I think that's what makes it really cool for guests too.
That's awesome. And I'm going to put this question up here with you, Alessia. Pam asks, how can we as meeting professionals share your tours with prospective groups looking to meet in New Jersey? So do you have one through the collective, or do you recommend reaching out to each of you directly?
Directly, because I mean, at least for me, I have like a one pager that I send out when people inquire about, it's like a standard proposal of like the itinerary, everything. So that's for me. We should have that on the NJ Food Tour Trail.
Yeah, I mean, if they go to the New Jersey Food Tour Trail website, then they're going to be able to link to anybody depending on where they're living. But that is a great idea for us to add. That might be our conversation for our next meeting. How do we put something together that people could use to promote any area that people are meeting in New Jersey?
Exactly.
Well, and I can put something up. I can put a document up in the Eating at a Meeting Facebook group too, so that the meeting planners who are in that group can just get it, and all your links will be there too. So I can do that too. Pam also, before she wrote DeLorenza, I can't say that word. or Papa's. She's a Papa's girl. And Joanne loves your tour, Kathleen, which is awesome. Oh. And Carolyn, you correcting me. You're like, it's Taylor ham, not pork roll.
Depends where you live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yep, true.
So are there any cool, because Liz, you mentioned that you're an entrepreneur and you like to promote the small businesses. So are there any cool entrepreneurs that you have on your tour that are really unique?
Gosh, I think everybody is wonderful, but I do love it's when you have a partner that a restaurant partner or a shop partner really loves and is passionate about their business. And also that flows into doing the tours and participating on the tours. When you have somebody who feels that way that you do, it's reflected on your tours. And there are, several that I could sit here all day and talk about, but one of our chocolatiers, Tom and Lauren Shasha, they own Shasha Confections. I just love them. They have a really great story. They share it with the guests every time when they're doing their tastings. So people on the tours get an understanding of how they got into what they're doing now. They were graphic designers. And I mean, you can see when you go to their booth at the market we go to, it's gorgeous. And then then the chocolate itself and the macarons, everything's so beautiful, but they tell their story and it's just, you can tell that they really love what they do. And they are so appreciative that we bring people to them. And it's stuff like that. And then there are people in the town who, talk about history. I know Morristown's historic place, Lambertville, George Washington slept there too.
Exactly.
I know everywhere, but yeah, so we have, there's so much history, and Lambertville in the early, in the 1960s and 70s kind of went through, after the Industrial Revolution, things kind of pittered out for them. And then once the 70s and 80s came around, they went through their own renaissance, really. And so some of our shop owners and restaurant owners were there for that. And they're still there, and they are able to tell me and educate me. And I just love that, because I feel like I'm getting a piece of understanding of the town that I might not have otherwise known, didn't have the relationships and the conversations with them. So it's really a really cool thing. So Sojourner is one of the shops where we go. They import crafts and art from all over the world. Amy Cost, she's just a wonderful business owner and member of our community who, again, was there at the Renaissance, and she's really just had an effect on the tours, a positive effect. And she really holds the history of the town in her heart, and she is able to share that with us. And it's just so awesome.
That's fantastic. As Pam and Carolyn are having a fight over ham and pork, which is hysterical. So and I love that, because and she's not a young person, but she's still there and she's still sharing her stories, which I think is really important. There's somebody on my show a couple of weeks ago was talking about the history of food from Ecuador and how we're not in the kitchens with our grandmothers anymore, and learning that. And so I think what you all do with your tours and bringing that history to the cities as well as to the food that's there, I think that's really valuable and important for everybody that's taking them.
It is important. It's hard to find sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it really is. I'm like, where's the great grandmother that used to make your pork or ham rolls, whatever they're called, right?
I think that was one of the hardest things for me, I guess, in starting the tour and feeling like I had, almost like we're ambassadors for the city, was every time I took a tour in Italy or Vietnam, or the story of food is much more important to the culture because you eat what's available to you. As Americans, we have anything we want, any cuisine we want, whatever we want, we can get it. And so it's like, how do you tell that narrative? And so I think that's what's cool about the trail too, is every city has a different relationship to food. And
that's cool.
Hard thing, at least for me with downtown Jersey City, was all this gentrification that's happening. All these small businesses are being pushed out. How do you tell that narrative that's not in a negative, jaded way? And so the immigrant story, and to Liz's point, people who've been there forever. I have 3 partners so I work with over 85 restaurants at this point all across.
Wow.
Yeah. And 3 of them on the Jersey City one, they were born and raised there. And so like Liz was saying, you learn from them and they share so much value and stories. Jersey City no one wanted to be there. Even when I moved there, my parents were like, Jersey City, The place is dangerous. Like, why would you want to be there? And downtown, especially, that was not the center of it. And it's crazy now that it is the center of everything. Whereas back in the day, Journal Square was where the theaters were and shopping. And so it's telling that narrative of perspective. What was it then? What triggered the change? What is it now? And so and then you add food in there to help drive that story. And that's what makes a good tour.
That's very cool. Now, how do you suggest someone like all these Jersey girls that are on listening in to take all of your tours? I mean, should they start at Cape May and go all the way up, or
you can plan out your whole rest of the year? The whole packed with just food tours.
And are they all day tours, or are they limited? Are they like 3 hours, 4 hours?
Mine are 3, 2.5, 3.
I think it depends on the tour operator, but that's why the food tour trail, New Jersey Food Tour Trail, was really created to help get everybody to go to that location and see what's available based on location, your timeline, your price point, because everybody's kind of doing different things. And if someone is interested, I would say visit the NJ Food Tour Trail website and check out. You can literally click on someone's logo and it'll take you right to their website. And then you can get in touch with us each directly that way. And Alessia had mentioned for the events that she does for on the corporate side, she's got the proposal form, but usually with a private tour, I will ask specific questions and work with my clients one-on-one to make sure that they, are getting what they need, or if they have an allergy or food restrictions, things like that. So it's definitely, we all are friendly and we're not going to bite. So we'll definitely answer questions and help guide people with planning either their private event or their corporate event or any other type of tour that they're looking to take.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you said the word allergy, which is a big trigger for me. So dietary needs and things like that, but also because they're walking tours, what about individuals who utilize scooters or wheelchairs? Can they actually take the tours as well? Are there limitations, or can you design one specifically for them?
For my tour, actually, I learned from these ladies that I had one tour when I started, and it was on the longer side. And then I thought, okay, I need to do one that's shorter and that's more feasible for a variety of people. And Morristown itself is the home of the Seeing Eye, which is a trademarked guide dog facility.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a lot of dogs being trained in Morristown, and it's very accessible. So if I had someone in a scooter, I could arrange for them to come on the tour, and I would have to be specific. There's a couple of shops that might be harder for them to get in if they were in that situation. And that shorter tour, I kind of really thought about like mixed fitness levels and families, so that people who might have someone older and not really wanting to walk as far. And because of the green, there are places where people can kind of take a seat while I'm talking if they need to. So that one is the one that I would say is the most accessible on mine.
Okay. All right.
Know in advance sometimes. We can be upfront with people. I mean, my mom is physically handicapped, so I actually did a fundraiser tour for her, and we made it work. As long as we know in advance, we can make but it doesn't happen as often.
No?
At least for me.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation. So yeah. I mean, what about, are your restaurants good at accommodating different dietary restrictions?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
definitely
good.
And again, it comes down for me, it comes down to knowing in advance for a lot of that stuff. Whether it's dietary or if it's like a physical handicap, we can even do, if I know in advance, we don't have to do both sides of the river. We can just stick to Lambertville or New Hope to make it shorter. And then as far as the food goes, we just try to make sure that everybody knows ahead of time if there's an allergy or some sort of dietary restriction.
Yeah. Because you don't want to throw them at the, yeah.
Right.
Like, what you want us to do now?
Yeah, it makes it harder and it makes it a little bit uncomfortable for everybody, I guess, at the same time. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to know, if there's anybody in the world, living or dead, that you would love to have over for dinner or to take the tour with you. Anybody?
I'm going to jump in. I would love to eat with Bruce Springsteen, but at his house, because his home in Colts Neck used to be property owned by my grandmother's family.
Oh, wow.
And so the Hoy family, which was my father's mother's side of the family, owned a farm in Colts Neck. And that is the place where he now lives. So I would love to go there. Bruce, if you're listening, I have some pictures and some news articles of when the farm was sold. And I've been doing some genealogy. So I have some background information that's kind of interesting on family feuds about who was getting left the farm. Yes, Bruce. Carolyn likes that. So that's my answer for anybody living.
Okay. Awesome. What about you, Liz or Alessia?
I don't know. Alessia, do you have one?
I mean, my go-to, how can I not? Anthony Bourdain.
I was thinking him too.
Yeah. I mean, you love to travel all over the world. So that's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
For alive, I would say Brene Brown. I love her. I think she's such like an insightful person and a happy person. And I think the beauty of doing food tours for a living is it's not, no disrespect to like anyone who's like a doc. That's surgery. That's like serious stuff. But food tour is as serious as understanding people's cultures and being respectful, all of that. But at the end of the day, you're doing it to have a great time and to learn something and to maybe be exposed to something you've never been eaten before. So I think, and even to meet new people, like on the group public tours that we do, you can sometimes have a mishmash of people from all over the state or the country or the world. So you don't know who you're going to meet on a tour. So I think it's fun. And I think that's the bottom line. It's not, I don't take myself too seriously. I try to keep it light and make it enjoyable. And because that's what it's about. Eating should be a pleasurable thing. And so I think that Brene Brown would be a good one because she seems like she would get that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And LA just piped in saying, I love food tours. And we're right there with you, LA. So what you all do is you bring people together over something that we all have to do is eating. But Liz, I think you just said it. It's like you get to meet new people over a plate of something you've never experienced before. And you get to meet such and such. And maybe that whatever you're eating, they eat differently or it's called something different where they're from. Right. And I think that's really, you can bond over that food.
Absolutely.
So what about being a woman in the food and beverage industry and this hospitality industry? What words of advice do you have you gotten from someone doing your tours? And I know, Alessia, you got a lot of input from people around the world, but what advice have you gotten and what do you give to someone coming into this industry?
Oh man, I would say that if I could talk to my younger self just starting, I think because this is such a fun thing and a lot of it seeded from like a passion and a hobby. And I'm very much like, come on, let's do this. Let's get this started. I would say that if you really want this to be something that's going to be your livelihood, you're going to grow, you're going to scale, put the right things in place from the beginning because it's harder later. So contracts and expectations. And of course, those things change. But I think that anyone looking to be taken seriously, to grow, to make a name for themselves, like, yes, passion has to be there, but also doing things, get a mentor, talk to people, which I think I'm very good at. I'm great at connecting with people. Like if I have no problem asking for help. So ask for help if you need it, but also make sure that you put the right things in place so that you can set yourself up for even bigger and bigger growth.
Okay, awesome. Kathleen or Liz, do you have anything to add to that?
I really got a lot of help from the Small Business Association when I was starting. Mm-hmm. So I agree with Alessia that you really need to have like the business elements in your mind of what do you need to break even and how many people is your goal for your tour and logistically. And then, like she said, not to be afraid to go and talk to future partners and recruit them to participate with you. Those are the things I would say.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Liz, do you have anything to add to that?
I think to echo what you've both said is, building your relationships and not being afraid to ask for help and connecting with people. It has been incredibly validating for me to be a part of the New Jersey Food Tour Trail, even before we were officially a thing. Alessia came out, and when I was first starting, Alessia came out, and I think we had a drink and some food together and connected. And that to me meant a lot, because I felt like, okay, she's not mad at me that I'm starting a food tour company in the same, and I know this person. And then she introduced me to all the other women. And so it's incredibly validating to have people who are doing this to literally say the same problem that you just had a week ago. And so for me, that's been such a great part of this experience, is to be connected with people who understand what I'm going through. So don't be afraid to do that. And it's competition is healthy and everything, but don't be afraid of it. And don't be afraid of other people who are in your business, because if I can't do something for someone on a tour, or if someone's looking for something specific that I can't do, well, guess what? I know that Kathleen does it, so I can refer now. It's a win-win for everybody. So
I love that. And I know a group of women in Atlanta who all rep different hotels, and they kind of do the same exact thing. They're like, they know each other's properties backwards and forwards. So they say, okay, I can't do this, but I know she can do that. So I think that's a really valuable. Okay. So Joanne posted in here, pickle soup was amazing. Okay. Please explain to me what that is.
So
is that bread and butter soup? Is it dill pickle soup? What
it is
that?
Dill pickle soup. We had it at the pierogi's house in Morristown, and it's a very traditional Polish dish, which we had never had before. It really was amazing. It was very unique. Very unique.
Okay. Well, good to know. I mean, apparently in New Jersey, there's a lot of unique food. So hoagies and hot dogs, and I'm scrolling saltwater taffy. I know, but you can get that anywhere, but the tomato pie. So ladies, I just admire what you've done with your businesses themselves, but also coming together during COVID to collaborate with each other. So thank you for doing that. And Nancy just said that pickle soup is yummy, and LA is ready to come on tours. LA, so you just got to get in the car and drive from DC up to Jersey, and maybe I'll just drive up there to DC and find you, and we can go together. So anything last that you want to talk about those food tours? I've already asked you who you want. What is your actually favorite thing to eat? There you go, from New Jersey.
Oh, gosh. I have to say Jersey tomatoes, when they're really in season, they are the best.
Yeah. Okay. And I heard you guys have a lot of blueberries.
That too.
We are the Garden State.
Yes. Okay. Alessia, what about your favorite?
I'm actually in Colombia right now. The number one thing I want when I get back is a slice of pizza. Tomatoes really are the best. Like the tomatoes here. I'm with you, Kathleen.
Interesting.
All right, Liz, what about you?
I mean, I know it's going to sound, I love a good bagel, and you can get them anywhere. I live really close to a really good bagel shop, and but then if I drive 10 minutes in another direction, I can find another really good bagel shop. So,
that's true.
Bagels.
That is true.
That's so funny. Okay, so Pam just piped in here. Yes, sliced on white bread with mayo and salt and pepper.
That's the tomatoes.
That is a good sandwich, Pam. I agree with you on that. Woohoo! Yummy. My grandmother used to eat tomatoes like they were apples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good. Okay, so I've posted your website to everything. I will actually give everybody, when we do the audio broadcast, and put it on my website. I will make sure all 7 of your tours are listed there, as well as just the tour there. But thank you again. Oh, Blueberry Pam. Okay, I have to come visit you all, and I'm going to eat my way through New Jersey. Oh my goodness, which is the title of this session: Eat Your Way Through New Jersey.
Yes.
So I will post all of that onto the Facebook on the live Thrive Meetings and Events website as well, but I'll link everybody. But thank you so much for what you're doing for the food and beverage tourism of New Jersey, and just food and beverage in general.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yay. Women's History Month. So yay. Salute yourselves for what you're doing. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure all these Jersey girls do too. So, and if there's any men listening, I hope you're there too. We appreciate you as well. Exactly. So Everyone, LA and Joanne and Carolyn and Nancy, thank you. Who did I miss? Did I miss anybody? LA, thank you for tuning in and listening. Until next time, stay safe and eat well. And we're here every Wednesday live, but you can also catch us on all podcast platforms. Oh, and be sure to join the Eating at a Meeting Facebook group. That's a whole lot of stuff to do. Happy Women's Herstory Month, everyone.
Herstory Month.
Yes,
Herstory Month.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.